Morning everybody on Star Universe. Welcome to cooking. My name is Samira. Today we will be making an apple pie with lattice crust on top. You can see here. And for that we will need pie crust from the store. You can also make homemade one. Crust from the store. It looks like this. It comes into two rolls like these, and we are going to need only one crust, a rolling pin, cinnamon powder, vanilla, sugar, Granny Smith apple. And as far as tools are concerned, we are going to need an apple slicer. If you don't have it, that's okay. You can use a knife. We're going to need a bowl for mixing, some measuring cups, measuring spoons, and muffin tin. If you don't have a regular one, you can use foil. Ones are easy to clean. Also cooking spray. All right, let's get started. And we are going to start by making the actual pie crust. We're going to roll out this pie dough. We're just going to need one roll. So you want to make sure that this is room temperature so it's easy to roll and it doesn't crack. It's really cold. So if it was in the freezer, I would recommend you put it in the fridge overnight and you take it out an hour to a half an hour before you start baking. I would say an hour to just be on the safe side. Even then, it'll still crack a little bit and you want to open it gently. There you go. And I wouldn't worry too much because you can stick these pieces that are cracked together because it's soft. And as you can see, our pie crust is covered with wax paper under and over, which makes it super easy to roll out. You don't have to use flour or put out some wax paper. It's already there for you. All right, so you take your rolling pin and we're gonna roll this out a little bit more. It's too thick. You're going to roll it out so it's actually thinner than it came in the box. You want to go from the center out, and it doesn't matter if you keep the shape of the circle or not, because we are going to cut out circles, and for that you use a round cutter, or you can always use whatever you had, a jar lid. You see what I'm talking about? This piece came out of the wax paper, got stuck in my rolling pin. That's okay. Keep working with it. So like I said, for the roller part, you will need a jar lid or a round cookie cutter. If you don't have that, then you could take a medium-sized bowl like this one, and then you just press to make circles. Okay, I think this is how you know if you're done rolling. It's not too thick and it's not too thin, as you can see. Thickness is just perfect. So you roll it out until you don't have any more wax paper left. That's the clue I give you. Let me just stop. Okay, I think I'm good. I'm gonna start right here. And before I start cutting, I'm gonna spray my baking tin, muffin tin. It's the foil one, so it's easy. But then you have to adjust the cooking time. Normally, you preheat the oven right now, 425. And if it was a regular muffin, I would cook it for 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. But because it's a foil one and it's really light, I would check it after 10 minutes, just to be sure. All right, now we have smooth, really nice pie crust. It's ready to cut. So you remove the top wax paper. See how sticky it is? Imagine rolling that out without wax paper. It'll stick to your rolling pin. But if that happens, there is a solution. You can use flour very lightly. Rub it on your rolling pin and try to roll it again. Okay, so we're going to roll anything now. That side, we take either a jar, lid, or a bowl, like I said. We start making our circles, cutting our circles from the edges. We're not going to start at the middle. That way you can use up this whole piece for both lattice crust and for the bottom part, bottom crust as well. That's what the circles are. They're the bottom crust. Okay, you continue. So you press right next to that circle, and once you press, you twist side, hold the bottom of the wax paper, and go right, left. And what that does is it loosens it up. Makes it easy to come up. And you continue. Continue one circle next to the other. This. Right, left. And go. Left. Nice circles. Right, left. Now I just needed 6 circles. Now, if you wanted to make a whole 12 mini apple pies, then not a problem. You can make 6. You can roll it out thinner. You can actually use 2 pie rolls, not just 1. So for the full, if you want to scale it up, the recipe, then you double all the ingredients. So you have 2 rolls of pie crust, which technically this one comes with 2. So a whole box would be good for the full recipe of 12 mini pies. All right, I'm taking the circle, as you can see. I'm going to bring my muffin tin. Let's make space for it. And these, don't toss them. You can roll them out and make some more. Probably that's what we're going to use for our lattice crust. So you take it, you drop it like this, and you pat at the bottom with your finger, kind of make sure it's flat, and then move to the crust part. Kind of stick it to the edges like you see. Stick it and then press. So you press the bottom first, and then you press the sides of the crust. Let's do it again. Take the circle, drop it in the middle, and press the bottom base with your finger. If you don't want to do that with your finger, you can do that with your drum spoon too. And your thumb works, then you press the edges. And we continue. So it gets hard. You need to be very, very patient with pie crust because it's so buttery and fragile and soft, and it breaks really fast. So you need to make sure to handle it carefully. And if it's breaking every time, I would roll it up into a bowl and stick it, and then wrap it in plastic and stick it in the fridge for a bit. It'll be easier to work with that. And when you drop your circle, just imagine this is going to be the center. So you drop it, and you make sure that the edges are all even. You're not dropping it this way. You're dropping the center of your circle to the center of your muffin tin. There, do Do you see that? I adjust it and then I let it slide down. I kind of push it down. You can leave it like that. That's pretty. Just make sure you press. You do that with all of them. Center. There. And help the edges fall in. And press the bottom down with your thumb. If you don't want the pie crust to puff up, especially the center at the bottom, then you go ahead and poke it with a fork. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. This is my 6th and last one. What I'm going to do is use a fork to kind of press the bottom so that it doesn't puff up. I want it to be flat. Okay. And then you put this in the fridge to set while you make the filling. Right. Let's put our dough aside. This is what we're going to use to make the lattice crust on top. So we set it to the side. And let's bring our bowl out. First, let's bring our apple out. So the apple we're using for this particular recipe is Granny Smith. They're really, really, really tough and they're great for baking. That's the reason why we use them as opposed to other apples. They're also sour and tasty, and if you add sugar and it caramelizes that sourness with the sugar, it's just a great combination. So that's why you see a lot of people use them in baking. So we're using our apple slicer. You do not have to do that. You can pour it and then you'll have plenty of slices, or you can just cut the apple, not in half, but cut it, the cheeks of the apple. So this side, and then you'll have 2 little sides, and you cut those, and then you can go from there. If you don't want to use the cutter. All right, here we go. That takes a lot of force, but try and take a break if you need to. Or try and just use your plastic knife. Give it like a little tap. Sometimes that helps. Or you can get on your tippy toes. Turn it. Sometimes it cuts through the core and that makes it harder to cut. But we're gonna conquer this beast. Yes! Now here's a safety tip. When you take these wedges of apples out, I would not try to put my hand under because this is really sharp. So I would either push it like that, push it out, push, 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 push. Push each wedge out. Yeah, see that? Just like that. And then you'd be left with the core, which you don't need. So remember not to pick it from here. You pull it from the top because these sides are not sharp at the bottom ones. Great. Excellent. Now we've got our wedges. This will save us a lot of time, which is great. Now you take your plastic knife or your kid's knife, you cut each wedge in half, okay? And you'd rather cut it on the inside rather than on the peel, because the peel is a lot tougher. Okay, you center it, and then you take your palm and you press. Center and press. Center. If you have a plastic knife, you can sauce off. You can go back and forth like this. Be careful though. You can hold it and you can, it's harder to sauce off, but try to do this. Press it down. Very good. I did sauce on that one. Did you hear that? When you go back and forth, if it's hard for you to do it this way, then I recommend this way. You cut it sideways. That way it makes it easier. And then you cut it into cubes. So you're chopping your apples and you put them in the bowl, just like that. Now this one is left. You cut that in half. You take both halves and you cube the halves. So if this is easier for you, do that. We repeat this technique but in the other one. You lay each wedge sideways. You cut them in half like that. And then you cube this because it's not that wide. And this is really wide, so you cut it in half before you cube it. There. And you cube it like that. You cut it into what I call, this is helpful sometimes to remember. I'll cut it into 2 sticks or 2 French fries. See that? 2 sticks or 2 French fries. Ooh, that gives me an idea. Can you imagine making apple French fries instead of potato French fries? I would probably, I'm just thinking out loud here, what else I would make with this apple? Apple French fries with cinnamon sugar on top. Ooh, that sounds really good. Especially if you put it in a batter before you fry it. Oh, well, that's an idea, right? See, as you're making things, as you're baking or you're using certain ingredients, you get inspired sometimes. You can totally come up with your own recipe too. So far, I've got a good amount of apples. I'm only gonna need 1 cup, so let's measure and see if we have 1 cup. 1 cup of apples. Yes. We have more than 1, so that's perfect. So we're gonna stop right here. If you were, like I said, scaling up or doubling the recipe, then you can keep cutting the apples until you get 2 cups and a half. I'm going to use 1 cup of chopped apples. You can take the skin off or you can keep it. It's completely up to you. All right, got our apples. Now we are going to need 2 tablespoons of sugar. My hands are a little bit wet because of the juice from the apples. 2 tablespoons of sugar. See, I'm sprinkling it. Now when the sugar kind of starts breaking down and cooking and caramelizing, and that with the apple juice, the natural sugary juice, it'll make a really great combination. Okay, we need 1 tablespoon of flour. I forgot to take my flour out. Okay, 1 apple, 1 tablespoon of flour. Okay, and make sure that we level it. So if we want to level flour, we can use the back of the knife. Just like that. To level, we use the back of the knife. Make sure that's exactly 1 tablespoon. And we sprinkle that all over as well. Very good. We're done with our flour. Okay, now next is vanilla. 1/2 teaspoon vanilla. For flavor. Let's say you were measuring and some of it dropped into your bowl, that's quite all right. A little extra vanilla won't hurt. Pure extract. Okay. Lastly, we have a spice called cinnamon. And I just wanted to show you what the original form of cinnamon. It's actually a stick like this. It's very fragrant and it gets in a ground form. It looks like this. So powdery and brown and so flavorful. A lot of people use it in in baking dishes, in oatmeal, and in other countries they also use it in savory dishes as well. And it'll have like that earthy flavor. It's so good. We need half a teaspoon of that. This is the original, the raw, I guess we could say the raw form of cinnamon. And this is after you grind it. We'll do half a teaspoon as well. Shake it. Now, you make sure that you do, cinnamon is great for flavoring your oatmeal or your baking dishes, but or snickerdoodles. But the problem is if you add too much, you will end up with a bitter taste. So make sure that you don't. Always follow the amount of this recipe. Right, and then you give it a nice little toss here. And as you can see, all the juices of the apple picked up all those dry ingredients. Like that. There. Now it's ready to, our crust is ready, and we need to put our pies, apple puff into our crust. And for that, you can use a tablespoon to measure. That way you know exactly how much you put in. You scoop in this apple pie filling into your apple pie crust. You start by a little bit and then you start spreading whatever is left. Oh, this one is nicely filled. Look at that. This is a good one. You fill a heaping tablespoon. We're not really measuring the exact amount, so we can have equal amounts of apple filling throughout. Oh, look at that. Looks like we got exactly the amount we needed. Overall, looks great. All right. Now it is time to show you lattice crust, how you can make a lattice crust. Super fun. Yes, I have worked on one before, and it almost looks like a rug, but it's made out of pie crust. Isn't that fun? And then imagine this on top of one of these. I will show you exactly how to do it. So let's put one of these like that. Basically, I'm going to cut it right there. And I'll show you exactly how I made it. And what you want to do, you want to take a little spoon and you want to tuck it in there. Tuck the lattice crust inside your base crust. Looks great. And it would look so great. So let's see. Let's see how to make this lattice crust. Let's take out our dough again, and I want to make sure it's rolled out a little bit thinner. So I'm going to roll it out. Whatever I have, I'm going to roll out a little bit on the thinner side before I start cutting. Okay, that's good. Just a couple of rolls right and left. Excellent. I noticed I put my wax paper before I started rolling because I don't want dough all over my rolling pin. Okay. Let's take our plastic knife and let's start cutting strips of, I'm going to cut this edge off here. I'm going to cut long strips of dough. And they're going to be about, I would say, half an inch wide. So start here, go slow, have to go fast. That way you can see if your strip or strand is the same width all the way through from the moment you start to the moment you end. If they're not, it's okay, no worries. It's dough. Look at it. What you can do is do this, roll it out again, and keep trying. If they're not even, it's okay. I'm taking my time, right? And I'll show you how to do it on the actual, straight on the actual pie. All right, if you need more, you can keep cutting, but I'm going to stop right here and start working. So I'm going to take my strand off of the wax paper. Now, sometimes it tears, not sometimes, all the time. It tears, but not to worry, that's quite all right. So you do, it's up to you. You could do 1, 2, and 3 strands across the actual pie, and try not to press it to the edges. As a matter of fact, don't press it, because if you do, then you can't pick it up. And for our lattice crust, we need to be able to pick up our strands of dough. I'll show you why that is. Okay, here we go. So you got 3 this way. Now we're gonna do 3 down. So if that's the easiest way for you to do lattice crust, that's fine. You can go ahead and do 3 across that way. If you want it to be intricate, let's cut this off. Like this one, we have to do like a pattern. Over, under, over, under. And I'll show you what that is. Okay. So, this piece is gonna go over the first strand. Pick up the second one, it's gonna go under it, and then over the third one. See how that went? Under, over, under. And don't worry about it being long. Later we'll trim it. Let's go on. Okay. Now, since it went over the first time, it's gonna go under the second time. Under this one, over the middle one, and under. There you go. It's not as easy as it looks, or as easy as if it was done with paper. I kind of added that there. Okay. So we went over, under, over, under. Now we have one more to go. We're gonna do over, under, over. And if you're not able to follow me, that's okay. I'm gonna do it again and walk you through it. So, over, lift this one so you could go under it, and then over. Did you see that? So over, under, over. And now we get to trim our strands to make them into a ball. Did you see that? And that's lattice crust, everybody. Then just shape the edges. Look really nice. And we have cooking spray, so don't worry about it being sticking to the baking, the muffin dough. Okay, let's do another one. Ready? All right, let's do it. Don't be afraid, it's okay. And if your strands start tearing, don't worry about that either. So there, 1, oops, short, isn't it? 2, short. Let's do, oops. Yes, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3, across. one over, oops, over, under, so we picked it up so we can go under it, and then over. Okay, now since we were over the first strand, we're gonna pick it up, move it to the side, go under it. Ooh, it's so hard to work with pie crust, but that's okay. So don't give up, keep going. Under, thank you, over the second strand, and pick up the third one and go under it. So, you see that pattern again? This one got cut short for some reason, so we're going to perform a little surgery here. Here, let's see. Let's give him a little extension here. There. That's the beauty about dough. You can really just fix it right there because it's soft still and it's not baked. So you could make some changes there. So, over, under, over, under. I'm going to take another piece. Oh, it's getting really, so if this keeps happening and you can't get a nice strand, stick it in the fridge. Let it cool for a little bit and it'll be much easier to handle. So our third strand going down goes over, and then we have to lift this because it's going under it. Put it back, and then it's going to go over the third one. And there. Over, under, over. You see that? And let's trim the long strands. See, I didn't worry about trimming it first, but it's okay. There. Good. This makes it super, super fancy. I mean, and it's super fun to do. It's like doing an art project, but with dough instead of paper. It's like making a rug on top of a pie out of dough. Isn't that cute? All right, so let's continue. Let's see if we can stick this whole thing. Let's take these out. Let's see if we can stick this whole thing in the fridge or the freezer for a couple minutes. So it's not picking up and stirring a lot, so I'm gonna put it in the freezer for a bit, just for a couple minutes. All right, so it gets a little bit easier to work with. So let's do the next one. Meanwhile, across. Do I have enough? Ooh. So see how I pressed it? Don't press it. I kind of try to press it just out of habit. And across. Now, I'm making it long that way. All right, so we're gonna go over, lift this one, go under it, and then go over the third one. Over, under, over. Okay, now we're gonna go under, so we lift this one, we go under, we put it over, we go over this one, and then we lift the third one and go under it. Yes. I think you're getting the hang of it. I have a feeling. Yes, you are. Good. All right, let's take our dough from the freezer. It should be, I mean, it's not enough time, but it's okay. We'll work with it. We'll cut the strand as we need. Ah, it's stirring, that's okay. We'll still work with it. So now we went under the first time, the last time. So now we're gonna go over the first strand, and then we're gonna go under. Let's pull this one out. There, and stick it. Now once you go over and under, you can stick them to the edges. Good. Okay. Trim them, and we're good to go. looks really beautiful. I wanted to show you a close up. And then tuck it in. Great. This is optional, but you could do also egg wash on top before you bake. Across. Too short. Half an inch wide strip of dough. Save this for the sides. Save this for the sides. Perfect. This is what I've been looking for, a shorter one. Okay. Over the first strand, under, lift, go under. Over the third one, lift the first one, we're going to go under it, lift, go under, go back, go over, lift the third one, and go under. And go back. All right. Okay, over, lift, go under, back, lastly go over. So you see how it's getting really easier and sort of second nature. It's exactly what's going to happen with you too. Don't worry. Just keep working on your lattice work. If you want to do that separately on your cutting board, you can. And then just like this, and work on it separately, and then somehow put it on and cut it and shape it on, just like I did with the first one. So the last one is coming up. And I've got my oven preheating 425. And I'm going to stick this in. And it's going to look amazing. There. So you lift your wax paper. And you pull gently. This one is really beautiful. Good. All right, let's take this and go over, lift, under, over. Good. Short. This is our last one, so hopefully we'll get to have enough to make it. All right. Lift, go under, put it back, go over. I think it needs an extension, don't you? All right, let's give it a little extension with surgery here. Then lift this third strand and go under it. There you go. Now we just need one more. Home stretch. We're almost there, guys. So, since we went under the second time, we go over, lift, go under, put it back, and then go over. Yay, we did it! Super exciting. Now you trim your dough, and you tuck it in. That's it. Pretty much it. Stick it in the oven, 425 degrees. I would check it after 10 minutes. I would check it and make sure you let it cool before you put it on cooling rack. And then you enjoy it. You can enjoy it a la mode with a scoop of ice cream. Stick this in here. You can also put it in a baking sheet, on a baking sheet, and then stick it in. So like I said, you can enjoy it with a ice cream, or you just can enjoy it just like that for dessert. Now with the rest of the dough, what do you do with it? This is what you do with it. You make it into a circle, a ball like this, and then you put a plastic wrap around it and you put it in the fridge. That's pretty much it. And it'll harden, and then you'll be able to use it one more time. So you won't wax paper. And you put it in a Ziploc. And you should use it in a couple days, otherwise I wouldn't use it after that. Alright, then with that, let's bring out, so as you can see, this lattice crust here is twofold, not three, we did with the ones that we just finished. So you go under, over, under, over, under. So you're alternating, and you can make as many dough strips as you want, or as less as you want. So you could do 2, you could do 3, you could do 4. And if you were making a big apple pie, same rule applies. You could do as many dough strips as you want and decorate it from the top. That would look really great too. I love the mini pies because then you can take one and it's an individual. You don't have to cut it into a triangle or anything. And they're great for dessert. And they're great size as well. And you can serve it just like that with a fork on the side, on the little a plate, or you can serve it with a scoop of ice cream. You can enjoy it that way for dessert. Let me show you what the crust looks like. It's golden, nice and golden, as you can see. The actual caramel, the syrupy, part of the pie crust and the pie filling, is coming out, and it's caramelizing on the sides. You could see it's bubbling, trying to make its way out. There's apple in there. It makes it amazing. Looks great. The cinnamon, it smells very cinnamony, delicious. The whole combination is great. It's very, very fragile because it's pie crust. It's very buttery and delicious crust, but it's really, really, really fragile. And it melts in your mouth. That's what makes it great. All right, I hope you enjoyed this recipe as much as I did. You go ahead and practice the lattice crust. It's really fun. And join me again next time.